Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Apparently only the strong survive this early in the morning. I'm going to take you into a very new concept today. I call it the biological hologram, which is how we need to start thinking about the body as a systems biological approach with all the interrelationships and what we call diseases. And as from a cardiovascular point of view, what I've learned is if I don't understand the other disciplines well, I simply cannot practice good cardiovascular medicine. And I think whatever your discipline is, you're going to determine eventually that you also have to understand all this as well. So let's go with the first concept, which is there are no diseases. We've got to redefine. There's processes, and they're very similar. Our goal is not to really start doing more ICD-9 and ICD-10 codes, but to start determining the reason that patients have what we define as a disease. So prevention and treatment strategies are very important as we go forward in looking at what we have called diseases in the past. These are the three things that are underlying every disease or process that occurs in the human body. And if you understand inflammation, oxidative stress, and immune dysfunction, we're going to learn to backtrack and turn the system upside down. Look at these finite responses, which are coming from infinite numbers of insults, resulting in a process that we name a disease so we can get paid for it with an ICD-9 code. So this is what you're going to learn today. We're going to take each system and plug it into the infinite insult results in three finite responses. So this is the summary of everything I'm going to tell you today, and then we'll get into the specifics. So there's an infinite number of internal as well as external insults that produce injury to your cells. That initial and acute defensive response that the cell has is to protect itself from the damage and try to contain the insult. That is appropriate and it's correct. However, if you continue to insult yourself with whatever it is, your environmental insults or food, toxins or whatever, the cell or the organ is going to continue to be damaged. And often it's as an innocent bystander. So the processes that are inherent are very similar in every cell and every organ, and they lead to very specific and recognizable patterns that we call a disease, and it depends on the organ in which it's involved in. So cardiovascular disease, neurological, gastrointestinal, even cancer, all have interrelationships that are very similar based on these three finite responses. So this is what you have coming in every day into your system, a virtual tsunami. And this is what will happen if we don't start removing the insults coming in, but also determine how to treat the responses. So as we start looking at things, we can plug in very simplistic concepts that relate to how does the body respond to what's coming in. And the first line of defense is the membrane. So let's take just a couple of minutes and define membrane function and dysfunction. This is your protective barrier between the external and the internal environment. So no matter how you define it, a membrane is a membrane. It's got the same constituents, fatty acids, proteins, receptors. So if it's your blood vessel, it's your endothelial lining. That's endothelial dysfunction. It's your brain, the blood-brain barrier, brain dysfunction. Inner site dysfunction. You can go on and on. The point is, if you learn the pathophysiology of membrane dysfunction, and I always tell people, if you understand vascular biology, you can put this into the system and understand all of it. You can then take the same principles and apply them to all the different diseases. So there's your classic membrane, bilayer, and on the outside are different receptors. And those receptors are going to determine what the insults do to direct signaling from the outside of the cell to the inside of the cell. And we have all these different receptors, pattern recognition receptors, toll-like receptors, calveoli. They all have very fancy names. The point is, they all have a purpose. And their purpose, interestingly, is to create the three finite responses: inflammation, oxidative stress, and immune dysfunction, or to tone it down.